Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the GM. It is your guy, Boulanger, and up next, the Monday after. Do me a quick favor as we get started. Hit like. If it is your first time checking out the GM, hit subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell so that you get updates when we upload new content. Let's talk about it. The Monday after today is not even going to be how we typically do it, where we talk about the games that we predicted, the biggest matchups. This is strictly going to be a Ravens segment. This may be a Ravens week altogether. So let's get to it. The Baltimore Ravens fumbled, stumbled, tripped, fell, and melted down yesterday against the Pittsburgh Steelers and lost. When they had a great opportunity to take full control over the AFC North, where they had an opportunity to put a 2-game distance between themselves and everybody else in the division, and also sit amongst the best teams in the AFC. But they didn't. And do you know why they didn't? Because the Ravens aren't that good. Let me just flat out say it. They're not that good for a collection of reasons. And I'm going to hit all of them this week in different videos. What we've seen over the first 5 games is inconsistency from the offense, poor decision making from the leaders of this team or the supposed leaders of this team, poor execution on offense, poor performance on offense, a lack of character, a lack of play integrity, and a lack of identity. And that reason starts at the head with EDC and John Harbaugh. Let me do EDC first and get him on out the way. The reason why I start with EDC today is because EDC has a tendency not to know what decisions to make when it comes to which players to bring in, which players to really trade for, and which players to retain. That's why it took so long to sign Lamar Jackson. That's why you signed Odell Beckham for $18 million versus splitting that money up and getting a couple of receivers. When you had an understanding that he hadn't played in 2 years, basically. When you understand he has a long injury history. When you understand that Odell Beckham is injury prone. You see, you give him $18 million when you had an understanding that he might not be available. But the reason why you overpay is because you drug your feet from the beginning of free agency. And the reason why you drug your feet from the beginning of free agency is because you couldn't make a decision on whether you wanted to sign your quarterback or not. You see, because of EDC's indecision, I'm not just talking about who to pay, but I'm talking about who to retain. See, that's why they said, oh, you know what? Let's not pick up Patrick Queen's 5th-year option. But now he's playing at a Pro Bowl level, and you may have lost an opportunity to retain him without a franchise tag because he's outpricing himself by performance. See, this is the indecision. See, and so when the leadership is indecisive, then what you see on the field is going to be indecisive. You see, we've seen a history of EDC paying some guys who've had some injury concerns, but letting other guys go who were solid players. And they go other places and perform well. So when the indecision starts at the top, then it's going to come down to the head coach because everything flows downhill. So now when we get to John Harbaugh, we wonder, why can John Harbaugh not make a good in-game decision? Why? Why can he not make a good in-game decision? Two of five games were partially lost because of poor coaching decisions. How do you not kick the field goal and go up 13-3? Not saying that that wins us the game, but that gives us a 10-point lead going into the half. But no, it's 4th and 3. The offense had been doing okay, but not great. We had already seen that guys were dropping the ball. We had already seen that. So, what makes us think that with less than 45 seconds on the clock before the half, that we should just go for it versus taking the points on the foot of the best kicker in NFL history? Why is that not the decision? Why, John Harbaugh? And why would you sit on the sideline and look shocked when the play is not converted? There is no evidence. You see, a lot of people talk about analytics and the new football and all that, but sometimes football basics is enough. If you just do football basics, you take the points. Now, am I saying we win the game after that? No, no. But how deflating is that when you go for it and you don't get it, and you take that into halftime? When you take that play along with all the other stumbles in the first half into halftime, where's your confidence going to be? Up or down? Down, of course. But John Harbaugh doesn't have enough forethought to say, you know what? Let's take these points, get out of the half. We have begun to stumble and fumble all over ourselves. They had already begun to wet their pants at that point, but you don't have enough sense to just take the points at the half. I'm not telling you guys, I'm not telling you that we win that game, but some decisions in ball is simple. Why? Because they're basic ball decisions. Basic ball decisions. But John Harbaugh, for whatever the reason, don't seem to be able to do that. Doesn't seem to be able to do that. But like I said, it starts at the top and flows down. When EDC is indecisive, let's go over who she should keep, but keep who we should let go of. You see, then it flows down to John Harbaugh. Well, let me get on some other coaching decisions that had to start with John Harbaugh. Now, Marlon Humphrey hadn't played all year long to a foot injury. And we understand that a cornerback, any player, but a cornerback specifically, the foundation of his game is going to be his feet. If his feet ain't well, then nothing else he does on the field is going to be well. And I understand he should have been or may have been on a pitch count. But we had already saw George Pickens eat on Marlon Humphrey last year as a rookie. Marlon Humphrey is coming back off of injury, but we're going to go man to man on a guy who is better this year than last year, meaning George Pickens, but we're going to put Marlon Humphrey in single coverage, no safety over the top. That's the only weapon they have offensively. Oh, you kidding me? It's the only weapon they have offensively. We had snuffed out the run until the running back Jalen Warren, I believe his name is, till he got going late in the game. But George Pickens is the only real weapon they have because other guys are hurt. Fairmouth is out. Dante Johnson was out. So all we have to do, all we have to do, oh my gosh, all we have to do is stop George Pickens. But because Marlon Humphrey is supposed to be our number one corner, so we just say, hey, Marlon, cover George Pickens. He already hit him up last year for big yards. He comes in this week and hit him up for another 130. Why? Indecision. So whether that's Mike McDaniel's call or whether that's John Harbaugh's call, it's still indecisiveness. It's still an ability to make sound football decisions. George Pickens had began to heat up. Kenny Pickett had began to gain confidence in George Pickens. You can't see that. We can't see that this thing is happening on the field in real time. You're on the literal sideline. You can't feel the momentum going in George Pickens and Kenny Pickett's favor. You can't feel that. Oh, but let's not stop with let's not stop with Marlon Humphrey because I'm not gonna say that that cost us the game. Let's go to Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams has not played in I think 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I don't even know. Don't really care. But we had an understanding that Marcus Williams had a torn pectoral muscle. Now we understand that his injury was as serious as to be considering surgery. He chooses not to have surgery. What does that mean? That means his injury is not repaired. That means he has to go through a full rehabilitation process. Well, lo and behold, Marcus Williams is practicing in full last week. Well, of course he's practicing in full last week. Why? Because ain't nothing wrong with his legs. So sure he can get out there and run. Sure he can be in the right place at the right time. But he can't tackle. And you need your arms to to flip your hips. And so here we are with a Marcus Williams who's out on the field, not the whole game, but out on the field, who's more of a liability than a benefit to this defense. But these are the decisions that I'm talking about. But let's not stop there. Let's not stop there when we talk about coaching. Odell Beckham has played 1.1 games up until Sunday. Played the first game, he played a little bit the second game, and then he was out. And if my memory serves me correctly, he didn't play until this Sunday. Now, he hasn't been available to the Ravens, okay? And so we saw fit from the coaching context. Let's put him on the field. Let's put him on the field and go to him. Let's put him on the field in a winning situation against a bigger, stronger, more athletic Joey Porter Jr. and call a back shoulder fade. Now, I don't know if that was actually called from Todd Monken, but Odell Beckham was in the game and he was lined up on the side of the field with Joey Porter Jr. And so we have the thought that we should call that kind of play against that kind of athlete with a guy who had not been available most of the season. That's what we're choosing to do in that moment. See, these are the things that I'm talking about when it talk about decision. See, the indecision of EDC flows down to the indecision of John Harbaugh, which flows down to the indecision of all the other departmental coaches. No different than in that same series of plays where we throw the back shoulder fade for an interception against Joey Porter Jr. That's the same, I'm pretty sure it's the same series that Gus Edwards gets the ball, runs it to the 4 yard, runs it for 4 yards. Right after the punt turnover, which puts the Baltimore Ravens in position to put some more points on the board, whether 6 or whether it's 3. But we don't see fit from a coaching standpoint. We don't see fit to say, you know what? Gus ran for 4 yards. Let's go even bigger. Let's go Patrick Ricard and Gus Edwards in the backfield. And let's just run downhill and see if we can get 3 yards per play and get into the end zone. Because that's all we would need it. 4 from Gus, 3 and 3. And then we've seen Lamar Jackson, who has run for 4 rushing touchdowns from inside the 10-yard line. But we don't have a thought. We don't have a thought at that point that that's the best course of action. We couldn't see as a coaching staff, we couldn't see that, you know what? The dadgum wide receivers have been fumbling, stumbling, and bumbling and dropping passes all day long. Let's just put it in the hands of Gus, Patrick Ricard, and Lamar Jackson. because the interior line had played the best of all the offensive linemen. But we can't see fit to call a basic football play. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. We Patrick McCarry goes down, and Daniel Falele comes into the game. More coaching. Daniel Falele comes into the game cold, not having practiced with the ones. Heck, he probably didn't practice with the twos. And then we complain because he's getting beat by TJ Watt, one of the best pass rushers, best defenders in the league, in position to win Defensive Player of the Year, because this is the third game this season that he has wrecked. This is the third game that TJ Watt has wrecked, and we don't see fit to make a coaching decision to put somebody on the same side with Daniel Falele in order to offer him some assistance. We don't see fit to do that. We have a 305-pound fullback that we'll send out for a passing route, but we don't see fit to move him to the side of with Daniel Falele to help defend against TJ Watt. How stupid are we? I'm sick of this weekly, dumb, ignorant, non-football coaching foolishness. That's what this is. Yes, Daniel Falele should be cold. Yes, he should be getting beat by a superior athlete in TJ Watt. I heard somebody say, well, Daniel Falele couldn't get his hands on nobody. Well, you know what? If you ain't practicing, if you ain't being prepared to get into the game, how you gonna get out there and know what you're supposed to be doing? When Morgan Moses went down last week, the Ravens knew they was gonna move Patrick McCarry to the right side. But Daniel Falele should have been getting some first team reps also, because there is always opportunity for somebody to go down. Daniel Falele was better as a performer as a rookie than he has been in his second year. Why? Because he has not been developed. That's a coaching issue. I'm sick of it. Sick of it. And if Gus Edwards, I heard somebody say Gus Edwards may have gotten dinged. Well, if Gus Edwards may have gotten dinged, then why hadn't we pulled out and dusted off Melvin Gordon in this game? Why didn't we do that? Because he's the next sort of power back that we have, and he has not put the ball on the ground. And when he's touched the ball this season, he has performed well. But we don't see fit, if Gus is hurt, to pull out Melvin Gordon. We can't do that. My goodness. When Rashad Bateman is out there looking like trash, we don't see fit to bring out a bigger, maybe not as fast, but heck, I don't know if Rashad Bateman is fast anymore either. But we can't see fit to pull in Laquan Treadwell, who was moved up for this game. We can't give him some run when we saw him in the preseason perform well. My goodness, where is the coaching in this game? But you know why? You know why we see poor coaching? Consistently, we saw poor coaching in week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and week 5. And to be all the way honest, let's just be all the way honest. The Baltimore Ravens really are an 0-5 team. I keep hearing people say we're a 5-0 team, should be 5-0. No, we could be and should be 0-5. Let me tell you how. In week number 1, we stumbled into that win. We didn't perform well. And if Houston had made a few plays that were left on the table for them to make, that game is tight. And you know how we do in tight games? We fumble them away. In week number 2 against Cincinnati, which ended up 24-21, something like that. I can't 27-24. It was within 3 yards. Cincinnati was in position a couple of times to win that game too. The only reason why we won that game, let's just keep it real. I thought it was Lamar Jackson's best game thus far. But the reason why we won that game is because Cincinnati was falling on their face at that time. They could not figure out how to get out of their own way. And they just did it more than what we did. That's the only reason we won that game. We have not played to a 5-0 standard. So let's stop saying that. Let's stop saying that the Baltimore Ravens should be 5-0. Yes, could they have found ways to win games? Yes, but you know why they didn't win? Because they're not a 5-0 team. That's why they didn't win those games. They don't have 5-0 coaching, they don't have 5-0 leadership, and they freaking don't have 5-0 performances and execution. That's why we're not 5-0. Because we're a 3-2 team, and really we could be 0-5. Did we bust our face when we fell on the ground in week number 3 against Indianapolis? And if Cleveland hadn't been so sorry, let's just be honest. Cleveland had chances to put points on the board in that game. And if we're all the way honest, we scored a late fourth quarter touchdown. That game wasn't whatever the score was. We scored a late fourth quarter touchdown when Cleveland let go of the rope. But let's say Deshaun Watson, who hasn't played well, but he would have been better than the rookie quarterback. Let's say if he had played, how much closer would that game have been? And you guys know when games are close, what we do? We fumble it away. And then we fell on our face again. So really, we could be just like people say we could be 5-0. We could be 0-5. Let's just tell the truth about it. I'm sick of covering for the Ravens. I'm sick of trying to pull positives out of this foolishness. It's corrupt and it's rotten from top to bottom. The reason why the execution is poor is because the coaching is poor, and the reason why the coaching is poor because the indecision and indecisiveness and poor decision making comes from the top down. And I'm not done with this fire that I'm setting this week because Lamar Jackson has some that he's going to get to. Specific players at the wide receiver position are going to get some of that too. Because I'm done of people paying good money and tuning in to these Ravens channels and people just covering over what the Ravens are. The Ravens are not a good team. Why are they not good? Because they're not consistent. Why are they not good? Because they don't have any character. Why are they not good? Because they have not developed an identity, and at this pace, they won't. I'm your guy Boulanger. This is the GM, and we're out.